Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan. This is Auto Detour, and in today's episode we're going to be going over a couple of things. The first thing I want to go over is why the MAF sensor setup in the way the kit came will not work. So yes, you heard that right. As the kit comes out of the box, the MAF sensor setup won't work, and we're going to be going over that in just a second. The second thing we're going to be doing is taking a look at the blow-off valve, which is another issue with this kit. We got to pull it apart and figure out why this little guy here is spinning even though the bolt is tight. So we're going to pull that guy apart and try to figure that out. So thank you guys for tuning into this episode. Let's get started. Alright, so first things first, I'm back to filming on my GoPro Hero 5 today. My Hero 7 had a bit of an accident and it got pretty badly crushed. So I hope the video footage on the 5 is good. I haven't used it in quite a while. Just wanted to share that with you guys. Okay, so I went ahead and I set up the intake setup how they had it recommended from the kit. So on CX Racing's website, this is how they have it set up. They even show it with the stock MAF sensor, which is another issue in itself. As I get further and further into this kit, I'm kind of finding that they're just little things here and there that, you know, didn't have much R&D into them, and because of that, they didn't really work. A huge shout out to the guys on Instagram that reached out to me and pointed out that this isn't going to work. I spoke with the tuner and he agreed it's not going to work. So let's go over why. First issue is the stock MAF sensor is not it's going to peg out with this amount of airflow that's required to pull through the turbo. You know, obviously we need a lot more air, a lot more fuel for the amount of power we're wanting to make, and the stock MAF sensor just isn't going to do it. And I already had an SCT BA3000, a huge MAF sensor, to replace this one to account for that airflow. And like I mentioned before, I'm definitely not an expert at this. That's why I appreciate people reaching out that know more about this type of stuff, because it really helps me, especially if I catch it beforehand. It helps us to avoid a bigger headache down the road when we find out things don't work. The issue is that the kit comes with this wastegate, which is a vent to atmosphere wastegate. With this setup, the MAF sensor is before the turbo. And so what's going to happen is it's going to meter the air out here. The computer is reading this reading out here, metering the air before it goes in, and it's accounting for all the air that goes into the throttle body. So what happens when the blow-off valve goes off is the blow-off valve, from what I understand, blows off, and it blows off that already metered air. But since that meter isn't going into the throttle body, it messes up the computer. So real simply, you can't have a MAF sensor before the blow-off valve if you're going to do a vent to atmosphere wastegate. And I know that now that people pointed that out, and now that I've talked to the tuner. So I'll get all this pulled off here so that I can show you the new setup that should work, and it's also going to make it a lot easier to tune. So I've already sent back the SCT MAF sensor that I got off Amazon. Luckily I was just able to do a return and take care of it that way. So here's our new solution. So we have a slot style MAF sensor that has the intake air temperature sensor built in. So that solves a couple of problems for us at once. Here's the part number here. And I got this kit off of On3 Performance. I'll put their website on the bottom of the screen here. So basically you can get this in steel or aluminum depending on what kind of pipe you're putting it in. I got an aluminum one, and I'm not putting it here, but I'm going to use this as an example. You cut a slot into your charge pipe, and then you weld this adapter onto it so that your MAF sensor can just slide into the slot there, just like this. And that works as your new MAF sensor. And like I mentioned before, the blow-off valve cannot be after the MAF sensor, so we can't use this blow-off valve port for the blow-off valve because we have like an inch of room after the blow-off valve, and ideally for a MAF sensor we need a good straight stretch of pipe so we have good, you know, solid linear airflow flowing over this MAF sensor so that it reads properly. I'm going to attempt to show you what the new plan is here. So this blow-off valve is moving. I have a block-off plate for this existing blow-off valve port, and it's just an aluminum disc that fits over there, and you use a band clamp to hold it on. And since we still need an idle air control port here, I'm going to be mounting this guy right in the center of that new block-off plate, so that basically we'll be using this blow-off valve port as an idle air control port instead of drilling a new hole in the side of the pipe for the idle air control port. So that's kind of the solution for here. Now let's look down here. Our new MAF sensor is going to go right about here. So it has a long, straight section of pipe for the airflow to flow over it. And it's before this 45-degree bend here. So it's going to go somewhere right in here. So it has a little long, straight stretch and a little bit of straight right after it before it turns to go up this direction. And since our blow-off valve has to be before the MAF sensor, we're going to put a blow-off valve port way down here towards the bottom of the charge pipe, probably on the other side of this coupler here. The reason you want it a good distance away from the MAF sensor is because a blow-off valve port causes turbulence in the airflow, so you don't want that turbulent airflow messing with your MAF sensor. So we'll put it down there somewhere plenty far away from the MAF sensor so we don't mess with that. And that's another reason you can't put it here, because you're going to have a bunch of turbulent air going around this guy, and it'll just mess it up. So that's our new plan for the MAF sensor. Obviously I already have the MAF here, so we're set to go there, just waiting on the block off plate. Once we have all of that set up, we're going to remove these two charge pipes. We'll take them over to Eric's house from Racing Ram Fam. He knows how to TIG weld aluminum. We'll get all that done at once. So now that I've kind of explained all that, let's go ahead and remove the blow-off valve and get that thing taken apart so that we can figure out why the port on this thing is spinning. That way we'll figure out if we can use this blow-off valve or if we're gonna have to find another blow-off valve too. So if you guys haven't figured it out yet, well, I knew some modification was gonna be required. We're finding out that it's ending up to be a very custom kit. So that's okay. It's more videos to make for you guys, and I think it's interesting. I'm learning a ton. Let's get that blow-off valve off of there and see if we can't break that too. Alright, so we're inside now, getting ready to take the blow-off valve apart. And in an attempt to raise the percentage of my female subscribers, we have added my co-host here in the background, and if you get bored watching this, feel free to watch Finn eat various fruits. Starting with banana. I'm going to be honest, I don't know anything about how blow-off valves work, so I brought a couple of clamps with me. I don't know what kind of spring pressure is in here. It could be 100 pounds. I'm just going to clamp this thing down before I unscrew it so that, you know, the blow-off valve doesn't like shatter my face when it comes open. So, right? Right. First I'm going to attempt to get this thing off of here. I got banana on me. So here's what I'm talking about. Hopefully you can see this. When I twist this thing this way, watch this little lip here. It actually screws into the housing further. You see now it drops all the way in. And when I unscrew it, it comes further out. So something is tightening and loosening in there that shouldn't be, and we need to figure out what that is, because it's not supposed to do that. Did you already finish your banana? Okay, banana number 2. Yum. Oh. I was thinking this thing was gonna like just like explode, but I can hold it together with just my hands. So let's open this guy up here. So here's our spring. It's providing that pushes the wastegate open and shut. There's the seal. This part obviously seals to shut down the wastegate when we're not blowing off extra pressure. So that's pretty cool. This little piece right in here is the one that seems to be screwing in and out. So let me see if I can't just take it out of here. Alright, so here's the piece that's threading in and out. This is the part that this piece threads into from the top. So it's just threaded into the top of the housing here. And it looks like it had some sort of thread sealant or thread locker on it. Oh. You gonna play with that? You wanna see the wrench? Oh. So it looks like we'll be able to put some sort of thread sealant on it and just screw it back into the housing, and we should be good. Maybe like a red Loctite or something to keep it from coming unscrewed. That's promising. Anyway, you can see some of the sealant in there, maybe. There just wasn't enough on it, and so when I tightened that bolt up, it just unscrewed this out of the housing. Oh my. Uh-oh. Well, fin update. He has moved on from bananas to raspberries and blackberries. So my plan here is to take put a small amount of silicone on this lip here, so that when it mates up against the housing here, it's going to create a seal. And then I'll put red Loctite on the threads here to make sure that it doesn't unscrew again. So let's go ahead and get that done. So we got a nice even bead of silicone around there. Curious thing is this tube of silicone says clear on the side of it, but it is clearly white. Alright, so we're going to apply our red Loctite here. And we're going to just thread it back into the housing here. So now this little piece has little holes in the side of it. I'm just going to use this small screwdriver to poke in there and make sure that it's screwed in nice and tight. Now you can see the Loctite and the silicone have kind of squeezed out there. We're going to wipe that off, clean it up, and get the housing put back together. Got it all cleaned up around the edges. Loctite's in there. That guy's threaded all the way in, sticking out way farther than it was before, so I'm wondering if it was never screwed in all the way. Quick look at the diaphragm on the inside before we throw that back together. This post feeds inside of there to make sure it moves straight up and down. Really quite simple, and I'm glad I had an opportunity to pull it apart, even though I didn't really want to. But now I know how it works, and obviously you can swap out springs or whatever. You know, it came with one stiffer spring. We're gonna leave this one in here for now, so let's get it put back together. On your face, Boogie. Oh, so sad. Look at this raspberry right here. Right there. I got it. You want it? No. All done. Alright, so there we have it. The blow-off valve's all reassembled. I'm going to wait to... This is just on here loosely. I'm going to wait to tighten that up until the red Loctite has a chance to really dry on there completely. You know, it says 10 minutes, but I'm going to give it a little bit since I don't need to put it on right now anyway. The next time it goes on, it's going to be going on down there somewhere on the charge pipe. Since we aren't using that port anymore, the blow-off valve did actually come in the kit with another one of these guys that we can just use that to weld onto the pipe. So that's nice. It also comes with this stiffer spring. We'll just see if we have to end up using that or not. I mean, that spring that was in there was pretty light. I don't anticipate running a ton of PSI, given that we're stock internals on the engine. That's that. Got the new MAF here waiting to go in. We'll get that welded in. Like I said, we'll get all that taken care of all at once. So just a minor setback with that whole MAF situation. Like I said, if you're looking to run this kit, just know that the way they have it set up isn't going to work. If you're enjoying these videos, be sure to click on one of my other video links here, or click on my Auto Detour logo if you want to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date so you don't miss the rest of the build. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button if you want to see Finn in more of these videos. Have a great day. I'll talk to you next time.